That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, so honestly, I don't even really like making these videos now because I feel like every single video that you're ever going to find from someone making fantasy football videos is going, hey, this player's a value. This player's a value. This player's a value. I mean, at one point, you just have to go, okay, is every player in Dynasty just going to crush their ADP? Of course, that's not going to happen. And that's why a lot of times I come through and I talk about some red flags with some players that I want to be avoiding. But that's not the case here. I mean, Travis Etienne is just getting an unreal amount of disrespect, in my opinion. You go through, you look at his prospect profile coming into the NFL draft. I mean, there was a reason that we had him as our running back 1, and then he gets drafted in the first round, and all of a sudden, people are acting like he's a tier 2 prospect just because he's on an offense that has James Robinson on it as well. Simply, you should not be doing that. And I'm going to dive into exactly what we should be expecting from Travis Etienne with this prospect profile, looking through over the past 8 years and going, okay, what do other running backs that check these boxes look like? What happens with their dynasty value? And another thing I want to focus in on in this video is actually how important it is for these rookies to produce. And I know a lot of people are going to want to come out here and they're going to want to say, but Mason, I'm drafting Kyle Pitts for the next 5 years. Mason, I'm drafting Jamar Chase for the next decade. Why are you talking about rookie year production? This is Dynasty. You talk about it all the time and how we should be using the long-term projected outlook for these players. Well, guys, there's a little thing that I like to call trading in Dynasty Fantasy Football. I don't know how often y'all do it, but very rarely do I draft a rookie and I actually have that same player on my roster for the course of 5 seasons. I mean, more often than not, I have that player for about 2, maybe 3 years before I then go through and I flip him. Maybe we get some more rookie picks. Maybe we package him up to get a bona fide stud like a Saquon Barkley. But everything you have to be doing is going, what kind of value is this player going to have 12 months from now? And the perfect example of this is say, hey, maybe you were a guy that really liked Jalen Reagor last offseason. Maybe you were someone that looked at Jalen Reagor's profile and you went, this is a player that I think is going to be a top 24 wide receiver consistently starting in year 2, but in year 1, I think he's going to have a slow start. Well, why the hell are you drafting Jalen Reagor in year 1? Why are you drafting him in his rookie draft? And why instead are you not just waiting until the next offseason if you think that player is going to start slowly, then to come through and trade? It is so important to go through and to actually look at what these players do historically, their rookie seasons, and go, okay, maybe, just say maybe I like Javonte Williams a little bit more over the next 5 years. But if we can project Travis Etienne to be a much better rookie running back, then, hey, even if you like Javonte Williams over the next 5 years, if you're going to be expecting Travis Etienne's dynasty value to exceed Javonte Williams by a ton based on their rookie season production, Travis Etienne is the correct pick. And Javonte Williams, that's a little bit of a cop-out comparison because it's not a one-for-one that I think is actually actionable. What I do think is actionable, though, is looking at Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase. If you go over to our Dynasty rankings you can find on Patreon, you'll see that we have both Travis Etienne ranked ahead of Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts. And no, that's not for a tight end premium format. In a tight end premium format, we have Pitts. But nonetheless, if we were talking regular Dynasty, we have Travis Etienne as our 102 in our 1 quarterback formats. And then he's a little bit further down in Superflex because of the quarterbacks. But of course, you can check those out over there on Patreon. But let's talk about why we are so excited about Travis Etienne. Let's talk about why I think he is one of the safest players you can invest into this offseason. And that is by going through and looking at what actually matters for a running back prospect. Now, y'all know I talk about this all the time. We talk about at the wide receiver position, you need production, specifically production at an early age, which should indicate that that player should be able to continue to develop and be able to hit that elite overall upside. While at the running back position, just like we talk about all the time, that production in college isn't necessarily as important. What you are looking for is you are looking for certain boxes to be checked with the traits of the running back. And I know a lot of y'all are annoyed with me saying this, but it's something we have to go through every single time we discuss these guys because it is so important. And our rookie draft guide that is going to be available at the end of the month over there on Patreon, we break this down and I include a bunch of different graphs so everybody can kind of understand the true impact of these different categories and their importance with evaluating these prospects coming into the NFL. But nonetheless, the boxes that you want to see is you want to see that running back have great speed. You want to see them have the size to be a 3-down guy. You want to see them have the college target share where it indicates that they should be able to be a pass catching running back at the next level. And you need to see them have the NFL draft capital that we should expect their head coaches to be giving them the ball as early as their rookie season. Now, we went through and we did a ton of research for that Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, and we established some minimum thresholds that you should be looking at with these running backs coming into the NFL if you want to be chasing someone who has a ceiling at a top 12 running back finish. And these minimum thresholds were for the 40-yard dash to identify the speed. You need at least a 4.60 40. For his size, we're not looking at weight. We actually had a much better chance of identifying those top 12 running backs by looking at BMI. And surprisingly, I mean, it's very easy to look at that BMI. You need a 30.0. And then also for their college target share, you need 8.5% of the overall offensive targets on a per game basis. This is how we normalized it across all situations. On a per game basis, you need to make sure that running back is getting 8.5% of their college targets. Now, if we go through and we look at Travis Etienne with all these boxes, the one thing that we were concerned coming into the NFL was going to be his BMI. But no, at his pro day, you don't have to worry about that at all. He comes in and he gets a 30.8 BMI, so he clears the threshold to be a 3-down running back. Then we always knew that he was going to have the speed. I mean, this is someone that's been a track star at Clemson. I mean, he ran a 4.45 40-yard dash, so completely fine there. And this is also someone that got like 48 receptions his senior season. He got over 12% of his team's targets. So this is someone you should expect to be a great receiving running back. And also the opportunity. I mean, he gets selected in the first round, which is a fantastic mark in predicting rookie season success. Now, I know that Urban Meyer has come out and Urban Meyer has said some questionable things, such as, hey, we drafted Travis Etienne to be a 3rd-down running back. Hey, we are using Travis Etienne and lining him up as a wide receiver on some downs to see what he can do over there. And to be honest, I could care less about these things. And I know a lot of people are going to read into it, and this happens every single offseason. And while, yes, there are quick, I don't want to say little pieces of nuggets you can take from this, but generally over the course of the offseason, I think it's better to zone out and to ignore the coach speak unless you are talking about day 3 players. If you're talking about day 3 players where you need to know who is getting touches in what order, when you need to know who is going to be the running back 2 on the depth chart, that's when it's important. It's important when you're trying to figure out what's going on with Kenneth Gainwell. It's important when you're trying to figure out if Tylan Wallace is going to be someone that may actually see snaps in Baltimore. That is where you listen to coach speak. You don't listen to coach speak with a 1st-round drafted player where we know exactly what happens historically. In that case, it's more so just to get some buzz in the media. More so, we would much rather look at the team investment and go, this is what they're telling us. Whatever they're telling the media doesn't matter. Their actions speak so much louder. The only time you really want to be listening to that coach speak is when it's with those players where we are having a very hard time projecting opportunity. But in the case of Travis Etienne, that is not the case. So please do not listen to whatever the hell Urban Meyer is saying. Now, if we go through, and I want to be looking at historically a running back that checks these boxes like a Travis Etienne. Let's look at all the running backs that have been drafted in the 1st round over the past 8 years. And let's go through and go, okay, who succeeded, who is a top 24 running back their rookie season, and then we can expect that their dynasty value most likely rose that next offseason because of that mark their rookie season. And to go along with this, we know also if they're a top 24 running back, not only are you increasing your investment, but to go along with that, you also got points in your lineup. So you're getting points, you're also getting dynasty value added to your roster. And how many running backs fit this mold? So if we go through and we do some quick analysis, there have been 13 running backs drafted in the 1st round over the past 8 years. Now, out of these 13 guys, of course, not every single one is going to be a hit at the NFL level. I mean, if that was the case, Dynasty Fantasy Football would be much easier than it actually is. But nonetheless, I mean, 9 of those 13 actually had top 24 overall seasons in their rookie year. Now, that is a mark that is incredibly impressive. You're telling me that about 75% of these players, you're going to be automatically expecting someone that you can put in your starting lineup their rookie season and someone that should most likely see an increase in their dynasty value from one offseason to another. So that is a great bet to historically make. Now, of course, there are 4 players that did not hit that mark. So I want to dive into why these players didn't hit that top 24 mark. I want to see if we can identify any trends between these 2 separate groups and go, okay, what side does Travis Etienne most likely fall under and what side should we be trying to chase? So if we go through and we look at the 4 players that did not hit that top 24 mark that were drafted in the first round, these players are Melvin Gordon, and of course Melvin Gordon then came on strong his second and third year, but we don't need to focus in on that. We're just talking rookie season production right now, trying to identify those players that are going to rise up in dynasty value. And with Melvin Gordon, he did not check the size requirement. He only had a BMI of 28, and I know he is a little bit of a taller running back. I know he still has decent size, but if we are just looking at the boxes and we're going, okay, what boxes did these guys check? Melvin Gordon did not hit the size. Now, a major bust from that 2018 class, Sony Michelle. Now, here was Sony Michelle. He barely missed the size requirement at BMI, and more importantly, he missed the team target share that he had coming out of Georgia. Now, of course, he was coming out of Georgia, so some context is needed here, where you had Nick Chubb in that same situation. You had like a true freshman, 18-year-old DeAndre Swift there as well. So Sony Michelle, he didn't hit a couple of those boxes. I guess you can make some arguments for why he didn't, but nonetheless, the fact remains he did not check those boxes. Now, you also have Rashad Penny from that same draft class. And to be honest, this is why I have been chasing Rashad Penny. This is why I have been just nonstop buying the quote-unquote dip, and that dip just doesn't stop until now. He is a player that's just on the fringe of your dynasty roster after they bring back Chris Carson. But here with Rashad Penny, he is the one player that checks all 4 of these boxes for the minimum thresholds, that it did not put up a top 24 running back season his rookie season. Now, if we go through, the last guy is going to be David Wilson. And David Wilson didn't check a couple of these boxes. He did not check the BMI box. He did not check the target share box. So now we are looking at these 4 guys that did not crack the top 24 their rookie season. All guys that lost value from the time you drafted them as a rookie to their second year. And we go, okay, there's a clear trend here. I mean, 75% of them did not meet the minimum thresholds that we were looking for in trying to identify those running backs that we want to be investing into. Now, if we go to the flip side of this, now let's talk about the 9 guys that did hit that top 24 mark, the 9 guys that in most cases their dynasty value increased. You can point to just 1 or 2 of these and say, hey, it either stayed neutral or it slightly dipped down. But nonetheless, I mean, as a whole, all their dynasty values increased. So this is going to be the list we're looking at. So the first guy we have to talk about is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, CEH barely hit that top 24 mark. CEH actually is the one guy on this list that saw his value dip a little bit after his rookie season. But nonetheless, he checked every single box. He had the BMI. He had the size. He was obviously a great pass-catching running back. Gets drafted in the first round. So CEH, the first guy we need to talk about. Now, the next player, Josh Jacobs. And I know we bring up this name and a lot of people are going to hate it. A lot of people are going to go, Mason, this does not prove your argument at all. But no, it does. I mean, even if you did not like Josh Jacobs as a prospect, I mean, that is a player that he did not check all the boxes. So I guess you can say, hey, I mean, maybe his long-term failure was because he was never a great prospect to begin with. But even if you identified that and you decided to invest into him his rookie season, you had the opportunity to sell high directly after. Now, Jacobs did not meet the minimum threshold at speed and also his college target share, so that is going to be notable. Now, our next guy, Saquon Barkley, checking every minimum threshold that we have set. I mean, checking every single box. We really don't need to focus in on Barkley too much. We know that he was the best running back prospect over the past 20 years. Then you have Leonard Fournette. Fournette, I know a lot of people want to say he didn't profile to be a great pass catcher coming out of LSU, But no, people saying that just simply don't know what they're talking about. People saying that are just looking at the raw totals instead of the percentage offensive production that he had in the receiving game at LSU. You have to keep in mind, at the time Fournette was there, I mean, it was a very low passing volume offense. So Fournette, he checked every single box coming into the NFL. He crushed his rookie season, skyrocketed in dynasty value. Now, Christian McCaffrey is the next guy that checks every single one of these boxes, except the size. Now, if you go through and you look at his size at the time of the NFL Combine, he actually was a little bit undersized. He did not meet this minimum threshold of the BMI of 30.0. But this is a complete outlier. I'm actually going to say he checks every single box because we know he drastically transformed his body after his rookie season. And we saw this actually before his rookie season even started, with the pictures coming out from training camp going, hey, there's no way in hell that this man does not have a BMI that hits 30.0. So no, Christian McCaffrey checks every box. Ezekiel Elliott checks every box. Really don't need to say anything here. I mean, he saw his dynasty value skyrocket after his rookie season. Next guy, Todd Gurley, checks every single box, saw his dynasty value skyrocket. Next guy, Trent Richardson, who came into the league and already was at pretty much an all-time high with his dynasty value. I mean, it's not like it could have gone much higher, but after his rookie year, I mean, it really didn't dip that much. I mean, he did come in and he put up a decent amount of production. He had a decent rookie season. Now, I mean, obviously, after that, you do have your concerns, but that's going to be like a ton of different players in the NFL. Now, Doug Martin is the last guy that came in as an automatic top 24 running back, and he is one of these other players that actually did not check the receiving threshold box. Doug Martin wasn't that great receiver in college, but nonetheless, if you look at this in a whole, okay, so out of these 9 players that hit that top 24 running back mark in their rookie season, 7 out of 9 of them checked all the boxes. So a little over 70% of these guys came in, they got that first round draft capital, they produced right away, and we are seeing it because they were the perfect prospects that we are looking for coming into the NFL. Now, we have the same thing going on with Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne coming in, checking every single one of these boxes, going to an offense that should be much better, yet because Urban Meyer is saying some crazy things, because James Robinson is on the roster, all of a sudden, people are looking at this profile and they are paying attention to way too much noise. I mean, you need to just drown out the noise. You need to drown out the stuff that doesn't matter and look at what has historically mattered and what historically happens with this Travis Etienne profile, a running back that gets drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, a running back that checks every single box. Is he's going to come in, he's going to be productive right away. He is going to see his dynasty value, I don't want to say skyrocket because it's already pretty high, but he's a very good bet to increase in dynasty value and give you production right away. So with that profile, this is why I'm going to be very willing to invest into Travis Etienne, both over Jamar Chase in any format, and more importantly, over Kyle Pitts in any non-tight end premium format, because you want that production right away. You want to make sure that you are capitalizing on the fact that these rookie running backs, when they produce, you see that dynasty value go up. I mean, think DeAndre Swift, think Jonathan Taylor, think Cam Akers, think J.K. Dobbins. If you invested into any of these guys last offseason, I mean, you are a very happy owner right now with their dynasty value being a lot higher than what you most likely spent in their rookie drafts. Now, you have the same opportunity to do it with Travis Etienne. Please do not overthink it because Urban Meyer is out here talking about stuff that doesn't matter, because an undrafted free agent running back who is very talented, but nonetheless doesn't have the team investment there in James Robinson is on board. No, ignore that. Go with history and bet with Travis Etienne. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. And like we always say, if you did, go down there, please drop that like. It helps us out so much. And if for whatever reason, I'm sure that I'm pretty much talking to nobody right now, you have not subscribed to the channel, do so. But more importantly, hit that bell next to the subscribe button. That way you can come out with all our live streams. That way you can come out with the video premieres, and I can try to answer as many of your questions as possible. Now that's it. I will see y'all with the video tomorrow. Thank you so much for everyone supporting the show on Patreon. And Dominic, Jim, Carl, Jesse, Tyler, Eric, Colby, Cameron, Mike, and Marcus, thank you guys.